Hey, econ junkies and dollar devotees. It's your boy, the boss of economics, back to break down the latest financial facepalm rocking the world of high finance and low politics. Today, we're diving headfirst into a juicy, spicy, and downright terrifying economic showdown that's got Wall Street sweating, Main Street stressing, and the Fed, well, fed up. So, grab your calculators, hide your savings, and let's talk about the Fed Governor Lisa Cook versus Donald Trump cage match that could tank the economy faster than a crypto bro's margin call. Let's go. Picture this, folks, it's August 29, 2025, and the US economy is already walking a tightrope: stubborn inflation, a jittery stock market, and a national debt that's ballooned to a mind-boggling $36 trillion. Yep, that's trillion with a T, according to the US Treasury's latest projections. And now, in the middle of this financial circus, we've got President Donald Trump trying to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, claiming she's a mortgage fraudster, while Cook is suing to keep her job, screaming that Trump's power grab could irreparably harm the US economy. Oh, and did I mention this is all happening while the Fed is trying to decide whether to cut interest rates to save us from a looming recession or keep them high to fight inflation that's still hovering at 4.2%, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics July 2025 report? This, my friends, is not just a political soap opera, it's an economic horror movie, and we're all stuck in the theater without popcorn. So, let's break this down, boss economics style, from the surface-level drama to the deep, dark economic issues that could screw us all. Buckle up. First, let's talk about the surface-level shenanigans, because this is straight out of a reality TV script. Trump, never one to shy away from a fight, is trying to fire Lisa Cook, one of the 7 governors of the Federal Reserve, claiming she lied on mortgage applications back in 2021. According to a social media post by Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte, Cook allegedly claimed 2 properties, one in Michigan and one in Georgia, were her primary residences to snag better loan terms, even though the applications were filed just 2 weeks apart. Trump, seizing the moment like a kid grabbing candy, wrote a letter and posted it on social media, naturally, saying Cook's deceitful and potentially criminal conduct justifies her immediate removal. Cook, on the other hand, is fighting back harder than a central banker defending a gold standard. She's filed a lawsuit against Trump, asking U.S. District Judge Jacob to issue a temporary restraining order to block her firing. Her argument? Trump's move is unprecedented and illegal, a blatant attempt to undermine the Fed's independence, and could destabilize the entire U.S. financial system. Oh, and she's not exactly denying the mortgage fraud claims, she's just saying they're unproven, happened before her Fed tenure, and don't count as cause for firing under the Federal Reserve Act. Now, folks, this is where it gets juicy. The Fed's Board of Governors is supposed to be insulated from political pressure, with members serving 14-year terms precisely to avoid this kind of White House meddling. But Trump, being Trump, has a history of trying to strong-arm the Federal. Remember back in 2019, during his first term, when he tried to pressure Fed Chair Jerome Powell into slashing interest rates, even floating the idea of demoting him? Yeah, this is déjà vu, but on steroids. And with Cook's term not expiring until 2038, this fight could drag on longer than a bad Netflix series. Alright, econ nerds, let's peel back the drama and get to the meaty economic issues here, because this isn't just about Trump's ego or Cook's mortgage applications, it's about the very foundation of the US economy. Here's what's really at stake, from point to surface. The Federal Reserve's independence is the holy grail of modern monetary policy. Why? Because without it, politicians could pressure the Fed to juice the economy with low interest rates before elections, even if it means runaway inflation or asset bubbles down the road. Cook's lawyer, Abbe Lowell, nailed it in the lawsuit filing. The short-term political interests of a president often clash with sound monetary policy. And history backs this up. Look at the 1970s, when political pressure on the Fed contributed to stagflation, with inflation peaking at 14.8% in 1980, per the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. If Trump succeeds in firing Cook, it sets a dangerous precedent. Suddenly, every Fed governor becomes a political pawn, subject to White House whims. Imagine a world where the Fed slashes rates to 0% just to boost Trump's approval ratings, even as inflation spirals out of control. Or worse, imagine a Fed that hikes rates to punish political enemies, tanking the economy in the process. This isn't hyperbole. Look at Turkey, where President Erdogan's meddling with the central bank has led to inflation rates topping 70% in 2024, per the Turkish Statistical Institute. Is that the future we want for the US? Here's where it gets real for your wallet, folks. The markets hate uncertainty, and Trump's attack on the Fed is sending shockwaves through Wall Street. Cook's lawsuit points out that the dollar weakened against major currencies immediately after Trump announced her firing. And the data backs this up. On August 28, 2025, the US dollar index, DXY, dropped 1.2% in a single day, hitting its lowest level since March 2024, per Bloomberg. Why? Because investors see Fed independence as a cornerstone of US financial stability. If that's under threat, they start dumping dollars faster than you can say quantitative easing. And it's not just the dollar. Bond markets are freaking out, too. The yield on 10-year U.S. Treasury notes spiked to 4.8% on August 29, 2025, the highest since the 2023 banking crisis, per the U.S. Treasury Department. Why? Because if the Fed loses its independence, investors worry it'll be forced to monetize the national debt, aka print money to buy up government bonds, leading to higher inflation and lower bond prices. This isn't just bad for Wall Street suits, it's bad for anyone with a 401k or a mortgage, because higher yields mean higher borrowing costs across the board. Let's zoom out even further. The Fed is already stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to balance inflation and growth. Inflation, as I mentioned, is still at 4.2%, well above the Fed's 2% target, thanks to lingering supply chain issues, a tight labor market, and energy prices that spiked after the 2024 OPEC Plus production cuts, per the Energy Information Administration. Meanwhile, GDP growth slowed to just 1.1% in Q2 2025, and recession fears are mounting, with the Conference Board's leading economic index declining for 6 straight months, per their August 2025 report. In this environment, the Fed needs to make tough, independent decisions, maybe raising rates to tame inflation, even if it risks a recession, or cutting rates to boost growth, even if it risks higher inflation. But if Trump gets his way, those decisions won't be based on data or economics, they'll be based on politics. And history shows that politically driven monetary policy is a recipe for disaster. Just look at Argentina, where political interference with the central bank has led to chronic inflation, with rates hitting 124% in 2023, per the International Monetary Fund. Do we really want to go down that road? Finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room: trust. The US economy runs on trust in the dollar, trust in the Fed, trust in our institutions. But that trust is already fraying. A 2025 Gallup poll found that only 22% of Americans have confidence in the federal government, the lowest level since the 2008 financial crisis. And Trump's attack on the Fed isn't helping. If the public starts seeing the Fed as just another political football, it undermines the central bank's credibility, making it harder to anchor inflation expectations or stabilize markets during a crisis. And it's not just the federal. This fight is part of a broader pattern of institutional erosion, from Trump's attacks on the judiciary to his threats to weaponize the Department of Justice. In a world where everything is politicized, economic stability becomes a casualty. Just look at Hungary, where political interference with the central bank and judiciary has led to a 20% drop in foreign direct investment since 2018, per the World Bank. Is that the future we want for the US? Alright, folks, here's the Boss Economics bottom line: this fight isn't just about Lisa Cook's mortgage applications or Trump's ego, it's about the future of the US economy. If Trump succeeds in firing Cook, it's not just a win for him, it's a loss for every American who relies on a stable dollar, low inflation, and a functioning financial system. And if Cook wins, it's not just a win for her, it's a win for the principle that monetary policy should be based on data, not drama. But let's be real, this isn't just about Trump either. The deeper issue is the growing politicization of everything, from the Fed to the Supreme Court to the local school board. And in a world where institutions are under attack, the economy becomes a battlefield, with ordinary people like you and me as the collateral damage. So, whether you're a Wall Street trader or a Main Street worker, this fight matters. Because if the Fed falls, we all fall. So, what happens next? Well, Judge Jacob is holding an emergency hearing on Friday, and the ruling could set the tone for months of legal and economic drama. Will Trump get his way, or will Cook hold her ground? And more importantly, will the Fed's independence survive, or are we headed for a financial free-for-all? Stay tuned to Boss Economics World, because we'll be breaking it all down, with no jargon, no fluff, and plenty of sass. In the meantime, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and drop a comment below. Do you think Trump's right to fire Cook, or is this a dangerous power grab? And hey, if you're as worried about the economy as I am, check out our latest video on how to inflation-proof your savings in 2025. Until next time, keep your wallets tight and your economic knowledge bright. This is the Boss of Economics, signing off. Boss Economics World, where we make sense of the dollars, so you don't lose your sense.